Hi, this is John Roddam. I want to talk to you a little bit about the background vision of Metro Vancouver Prayer. I had the privilege some years ago of traveling to Great Britain with my wife Holly, and we were a bit north of London in the Black Country, it's called. It's the land where the earth is very clay-like, and they make pottery and various things. And this was where John Wesley had a very, very profound impact in this working class area of England. The area where we stayed was Stoke-on-Trent, and I met a Methodist pastor there who had developed this plan. He really believed that God had a plan for the city. He really believed that God had an original design and a purpose for the city of Stoke-on-Trent. And he said, how can we begin to discern this? So he put together a research team. One component was hard research. They went to libraries and archives and studied the background and the history and the development and the founding of the community, the name of the community. All of these things were seen to have significance. The purpose was to identify godly trajectories, where God was working, where His kingdom was being made manifest, all through the founding and the development and the refining and the growth of the community. So they did this with hard research. They approached people who had a real interest in the community and had drawn together stories, historic, long time ago stories and more recent stories. And then the third group that he pulled together were intercessors, people that were praying for the city and saying, what's God showing you about God's original purposes and His design for the city? Now, at the root of this, again, is all encompassed in this vision that God has a plan for individuals and a purpose and a design for individual believers, for people in general. And He also has a plan for churches, that churches can discern before the Lord in prayer what their calling is in the community, how they're to design their outreach and how they're to live their corporate life together. And God has His hand upon them and is directing them, just as an individual does. Well, Robert believed that God also has a plan for towns and for cities. And many times the way that they're founded speaks to their original purpose and design and God's will for them. So this research project came together. It's a fairly comprehensive kind of thing. And I included this on the website for Metro Vancouver Prayer because, again, this is part of the broader theocentric vision to determine where is God at work? What are His hopes and dreams for this community? So this research project would be perhaps taken up by some university students in research. They would be taken up by interested individuals. My hope is simply to cast the vision. Now, they did this in Stoke-on-Trent, and they put together this extensive report, and they said, this is what we believe is God's heart for this community, how it was founded, what the original design is, what God's purpose is for this community. Then they brought together the Roman Catholic bishop through the Baptist and Pentecostal, all the key leaders, Christian leaders in the city. 30, 40 people gathered in one room. And the amazing thing was, they said, yes, this is us. This is who we are. This is Stoke-on-Trent. God has called this to the community. Now, some very interesting, what I call collateral blessing. You've heard of collateral damage in war. Well, this is collateral blessing because what happened was, as they said, yes, this is what God has called us to. These various denominational leaders, and then eventually this trickled out into the business community and various other Christians, and they got on board with this, and it brought a deep sense of unity. And they began to seek the Lord and say, okay, God, if we're to, in our watch, during our day, our time of active ministry, what are we to do to steward this vision? What are we to do to further the vision that we sense has been articulated in this, what I call a prophetic manifesto that Robert put together through this research approach? And so Um, this material is available on the website at www.metrovancouverprayer.ca. And you can look this up. And Robert's first, it was a little rudimentary. He's done others since. But I like the raw nature of this first research project that he did. And you can download this off the website. Robert's also agreed to act as sort of a coach and a mentor and support for those who would take this on as a project in Vancouver. This is something beyond what I could do or any one person, even a few people could do. But I wanted to cast a vision because I believe God has a great call on the city. And part of it is discerning God's original design, how it's been at work, the various kingdom trajectories through the years, that we can actually discern this. And it would draw the church together. When I went to Stoke-on-Trent, it was very interesting. I went to a Roman Catholic area of the city, and they had this big tent there, and I said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, there's a Baptist there who has had a profound healing." And in the course of meeting together, the Roman Catholic bishop said, "We've got a lot of sickness in this particular community." And so the others talked about, an element of the kingdom where God is our healer. And so they brought this Baptist in. You'd think maybe a Pentecostal or something, but here was a Baptist who was a godly man who had been touched by God, who set out a really good, solid theological base, biblical base for healing, and prayed for people, and people were being healed. And so the kingdom was advancing in a way as the various streams of the church were coming together. Now, that wouldn't have happened before this research project was released, and the folks began to discuss their needs in various communities and work together to see God's purposes come forth in the area. So I'm excited about this happening in Vancouver or in any city. But this is really the first community in North America that we're actively going to look at this. So if you're interested in this, get in touch with me at info@metrovancouverprayer.ca. Have a look at the website. Again, it's the same suffix. It's www.metrovancouverprayer.ca. So, and I really have a sense that as vision is cast, that there will be provision, not just financially, but people will come together, resources will come together, that there will be a sense of excitement about what God is doing in the city, and that we can discern that we don't have to sort of grovel around, and we don't have to grope around in the dark, that God will speak to his people and will reveal his will and his plan for this great city. God bless you.